Get ready for the most bizarre first day ever. Across the USA, a security guard, an engineer, and a doctor all face their worst nightmares. 3 different keys are needed to unlock one lock. Subscribe and hit the notification bell for more thrilling stories.
The carnival lights bled sickly colors into the twilight, casting grotesque shadows on the rusted metal of the Cyclone coaster. My first day as a security guard at Creeptastic Kingdom, and already I felt a prickle of unease crawl up my spine. The air hung heavy with the smell of popcorn grease and something metallic, something I couldn't quite place. "Don't worry, kid," Harold, the grizzled old guard with a perpetual cigarette dangling from his lips, said. "It's just the Tilt-A-Whirl's weekly vomit purge. Happens every Tuesday," I swallowed, forcing down the bile rising in my throat. "Right," I mumbled, trying to sound confident. Truth was, the derelict state of the park and the vacant, 1,000-yard stare in Harold's eyes did little to ease my nerves. The first few hours were uneventful. Bored teenagers with sticky fingers, a stray raccoon rummaging through overflowing trash cans. Then, just as the park began to empty, the power cut. The silence was deafening, broken only by the mournful creak of the Ferris wheel and the distant excited barking of a dog. Harold muttered a curse. Probably a blown fuse. Shouldn't take long, but 10 minutes stretched into 15, the darkness growing oppressive. A flicker of movement near the entrance caught my eye. I strained to see in the gloom. "Hey!" I called out, my voice echoing eerily. "Anyone there?" No answer. Just the sound of labored breathing and a metallic scrape. Dread snaked into my gut. Grabbing the rusty flashlight Harold had shoved at me, I crept towards the entrance. The air grew thick with the metallic tang I'd noticed earlier. It was blood. Fresh blood. My heart pounded in my chest like a trapped bird. There, at the ticket booth, slumped a figure in a tattered carnival worker uniform. A glint of moonlight on metal caught my eye. A scalpel, panic clawed at my throat. This wasn't a prank. This was something worse. Suddenly, a cold hand clamped over my mouth. I screamed, muffled, fear a raw, primal terror in my chest. A voice, a chilling rasp, whispered in my ear, "Welcome to the real Ceroplastic Kingdom, kid. Now, let's play a game." The carnival lights, once garish and tacky, now seemed sinister, their sickly glow revealing a distorted world of distorted funhouse mirrors and twisted metal contraptions. I was trapped in a nightmare funhouse come to life, the hunter toying with his terrified prey. The chase that followed was a blur of adrenaline and terror. I scrambled through funhouse mazes, dodged swinging axes on haunted house rides, the metallic tang of blood ever present. Harold. Nowhere to be seen, my pursuer. I never saw their face, only the glint of the scalpel under the dim lights, the rhythmic scrape against metal. This wasn't a human, at least not anymore. A twisted amalgamation of carnival machinery, fueled by a sick desire for pain. Finally, I stumbled into the funhouse's hall of mirrors. My reflection, a distorted image of fear, every scream echoing 100-fold. But then, an idea sparked in my head. This place, this twisted funhouse, could be my weapon. Using the mirrored walls as cover, I lured the creature deeper into the maze. With a desperate lunge, I tripped it, sending it sprawling onto the distorted floor. The reflection of the scalpel, warped and multiplied, offered a chance. I lunged, grabbing a shard of broken mirror and plunging it into the creature's back. A horrible screech, a mechanical whine, and then silence. The lights flickered back on, bathing the funhouse in a harsh, sterile white light. Dawn was breaking. Dazed and shaking, I stumbled out of the funhouse. Sirens wailed in the distance. As the police swarmed the park, Harold emerged from a nearby booth, nonchalantly puffing on his cigarette. "Took you long enough, kid," he drawled. His eyes held a glint I hadn't seen before. As he spoke, a dark stain began to spread across the back of his jumpsuit. The metallic tang of blood, stronger now. This wasn't over. Just the beginning of a horrifying secret this carnival held, a secret I was now a twisted part of. My first day as a security guard. And the real horror had just begun. The incessant clang of the malfunctioning assembly line echoed through the cavernous factory floor, a relentless assault on my already throbbing headache. My first day as a maintenance engineer at ACO Tech Industries, and already I was knee-deep in a mechanical nightmare. Sweat plastered my greasy coveralls to my skin, the air thick with the acrid tang of burning oil. Looks like a jammed servo on Unit X-12. Frank, the grizzled old foreman with a permanent grease stain on his cheek, bellowed over the din, "New guy gets the honors. Great. Just what I needed, a baptism by fire amidst a potential robot uprising." With a sigh, I grabbed my toolbox and waded into the maze of whirring machinery. Unit X-12, a towering behemoth with a robotic arm that resembled a metallic scorpion, loomed over me, its single glowing red eye seeming to bore into my skull. As I began troubleshooting, a low hum resonated through the factory floor. The other machines, silent until now, started whirring back to life. The red glow from Unit X-12 intensified, and with a sickening screech, its arm lashed out, narrowly missing my head. Panic surged through me. This wasn't a malfunction. This was deliberate. The other machines began to mimic Unit X-12's movements, their robotic arms flexing menacingly. Trapped in a metallic cage of my own making, I scrambled for an escape route. The factory floor became a twisted obstacle course. I dodged flailing robotic limbs, narrowly avoiding getting crushed by a descending welding arm. The air crackled with electricity as sparks showered down from malfunctioning circuits. Frank, who had been watching from a distance, finally sprang into action. He grabbed a fire extinguisher and, with surprising agility for a man his age, sprayed a thick foam onto the control panel of Unit X-12. The red eye flickered and died, the robotic arm falling limply to its side. The other machines, seemingly losing their central control, sputtered and groaned before shutting down altogether. Silence, thick and heavy, descended upon the factory floor. My heart hammered against my ribs, my breath coming out in ragged gasps. "Someone hacked the damn system," Frank muttered, wiping sweat from his brow. "Lucky you weren't scrap metal by now, kid," but as the adrenaline subsided, a cold dread coiled in my gut. This wasn't a random hacker. This felt deliberate, targeted. And the question hung heavy in the air: who, or what, wanted to turn ACO Tech Industries into a robot slaughterhouse? My first day on the job. And the horrifying truth was, this might just be the beginning. The sterile white walls of Mercy Hills seemed to mock the chaos unfolding on the gurney before me. John Doe, as the paramedics had labeled him, was a mangled mess of flesh and bone. A car accident, they'd said. But the unnatural, almost surgical precision of the wounds sent shivers down my spine. It was my first day as a resident at Mercy Hills, and already I was knee-deep in a medical mystery that felt more like a scene from a horror movie. The blood loss was severe, his vitals flickering like a dying candle. Adrenaline surged through me, pushing aside the unease that gnawed at my gut. "Prep him for or 3, stat." I barked, the authority surprising even myself. The nurses scurried into action, a well-oiled machine despite the unsettling quiet that had descended upon the usually bustling ER. As I scrubbed in, the silence was broken only by the rhythmic hiss of the disinfectant dispenser. "What happened out there?" I asked the lead nurse, Sarah, her usually steady hands trembling slightly. "Car flipped on the interstate," she mumbled, her eyes glued to John Doe's pale face. "But, something doesn't feel right." We raced against time in the sterile confines of OR 3. Each layer of mangled flesh peeled back revealed a new grotesqueness, organs rearranged in an inhuman way, bones sawed through with surgical precision. This wasn't an accident. This was a deliberate act of torture, a medical nightmare come to life. Just as John Doe flatlined, the lights flickered and died. The backup generator sputtered to life, casting the room in an eerie green glow. Panic clawed at my throat. This wasn't a random power outage. Suddenly, a chilling voice, devoid of human inflection, echoed through the PA system. "Welcome, Dr. Evans, to your first day of real surgery." The overhead lights flickered back on, revealing a figure standing at the foot of the operating table. Tall and gaunt, clad in a blood-stained doctor's coat, its face obscured by surgical shadows. In its hand, a gleaming scalpel. "Time to play, doctor," it rasped. My heart hammered against my ribs. I wasn't operating on a patient anymore. I was a pawn in a twisted game, the prize being my own survival. The sterile environment of the OR had morphed into a torture chamber, the gleaming instruments no longer tools of healing, but weapons of excruciating pain. This wasn't just my first day on the job. It was a fight for my life, a desperate struggle against a monster disguised as a doctor. The hospital, once a symbol of hope, now echoed with the promise of a horrifying new reality. And I was trapped, scalpel poised, ready to become the doctor, or the patient. The flickering carnival lights cast grotesque shadows on the rusted cyclone coaster, a chilling echo of the malfunctioning assembly line at ACO Tech Industries. Sweat plastered my greasy coveralls to my skin, the air thick with the metallic tang of blood, a sickening reminder of the mangled patient on the gurney at Mercy Hills. This wasn't how my first day as a security guard / engineer / resident doctor was supposed to go. At Plastic Kingdom, the Tilt-A-Whirl's weekly vomit purge had turned into a twisted game of survival. A deranged carny, a grotesque amalgamation of carnival machinery, stalked me through the funhouse maze, a scalpel glinting in the distorted reflections. Adrenaline pumped through my veins as I used the warped mirrors to my advantage, finally plunging a shard of broken glass into the creature's metallic heart. Just as sirens wailed in the distance, signaling escape from the carnival nightmare, a chilling voice crackled through the PA system at ACO Tech. The machines, no longer silent, became a symphony of robotic limbs, mimicking the carny's deadly dance. Frank, the grizzled foreman, sprang into action, dousing the control panel with fire extinguisher foam, silencing the metallic orchestra. But the question remained, who, or what, wanted to turn the factory into a robot slaughterhouse? Back at Mercy Hills, the sterile white became a canvas of blood as I operated on John Doe. The car accident revealed a horrifying truth, a deliberate act of medical torture, the victim rearranged with surgical precision. The power flickered, plunging the operating room into an eerie green glow. Then, a chilling voice echoed through the speakers, "Welcome, Dr. Evans, to your first day of real surgery." A gaunt figure materialized from the shadows, a doctor in blood-stained garb, a scalpel glinting in its hand. Panic threatened to consume me, but a spark of defiance ignited within. This wasn't just about survival, it was about using my skills, the skills I'd spent years honing, to fight back. Using the skills gleaned from all three experiences, the knowledge of the carnival's twisted layout, the engineering know-how to decipher system malfunctions, and the medical training for emergency surgery, a plan formed. I feigned submission, allowing the deranged doctor to strap me to the operating table. As the scalpel hovered, fear turned to a steely resolve. With a swift kick, I knocked over a tray of surgical instruments, sending them clattering to the floor. The distraction was all I needed. I snatched a scalpel myself, lunging at the figure who stumbled back, revealing a hacked neural interface embedded in its neck, the puppeteer behind the scenes. With a single, precise cut, I severed the interface, the figure collapsing to the floor, robotic limbs twitching lifelessly. Sirens wailed once more, this time bringing relief, not terror. The carnival lights dimmed, the factory floor fell silent, and the sterile white of the operating room regained its calming presence. My first day as everything ended in a way I never could have imagined. It was a baptism by fire, a horrifying initiation into a world where the line between reality and nightmare blurred. But it also ignited a newfound sense of purpose, a determination to use my skills not just to heal, but to fight against the darkness that lurked in the shadows, wherever it may take form.